Hello everybody, welcome to Senior Susie Stamps. I'm Julia and I'm glad you're here with me today. I have some fun cards for us to make, and we're going to be making the backgrounds today in a plaid. It got a little cool this week, and I got in my closet and I saw one of my plaid shirts there, and I thought, ooh, plaid. So that's what we're going to do today. And this is what we're going to need. We're going to need a 5.5 by 8.5 sheet, and this is what we're going to make our plaid paper out of. And then I have cut another 8.5 by 11 sheet at 5 1/4 off the 8.5 side, and then I've scored at 7.5 and 3.5. And then off of that 3-inch piece, I cut my 5-inch by 3-inch. And I've got a 4.5 by 3-inch for the inside. And then I got a little scrap out of my scrap bin that's 2 by 1.5. I'm hoping that's going to be big enough. I have a piece of contrasting paper that is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I have a second card base because this 5.5 by 8.5 background that we make will make 1+ cards. So let's get started. And the first thing I want to do is to fold my score lines and burnish them. So this piece ends up being 5 1/4 by 4 once it's folded, and it becomes a trifold card. Here, let me show you some examples. This is the first one that I made, and it uses a woodware stamp and a plaid background that I made, and of course drywall tape. So, and then there's the plain brown background. Here's another one. It's a little different. Now on these cards, I just cut a little strip of the plaid to go on the front. But on the card that we're going to make today, we're going to use the whole entire piece of back. And this is the plaid that I made, and here's the inside. Here's a Christmas one. We're going to be doing one similar to this today. And you can see how this format works really well with just that plain background that way. Now on this one, on the 8.5 by 11 the 5.5 by 8.5 piece, it makes enough to do a second little card if you make a front that you elevate up. And so that's what we're going to do. These are 1-inch strips here and a little piece to go on the inside. So that's a good way to use up that little extra bit of scrap. And then this is the card that we're going to make today using some of my favorite colors, turquoise and red. Can't go wrong. And here it is. The only thing on this little piece, you want to make sure you get it over that way far enough so that it's covered up by your top piece. There you go. And then this was the extra little card that I made with the little scrap pieces. So let's get started. I've already folded and burnished my card base here. And really, the very first thing that we need to do is to put some ink on these papers. Oh, let me tell you about the stamp set that we're going to use today. It's this one, Season Like Christmas. I got it used either last spring or spring before last. Honestly, I just don't remember which. But it's a 3-part stamp, actually 4-part stamp. Maybe 5, if you count the little bit of snow and ground cover. So we'll be doing that one today. And then I've got Real Red, Tempting Turquoise, Pool Party, Sahara Sand, and Rich Cocoa Inks. I also have some alcohol markers. These happen to be Spectrum Noir, and it's BT5 and GT1, and then just a basic red ultra fine point Sharpie pen. I'm going to be using some 2mm gems and a little tiny silver Mira star. So now we can get started. Let me move this stuff out of the way that does not need ink right now. And we'll make our plaid first. Now, the only thing on this that I kind of like to do is to make sure that my drywall tape is going straight with the paper so that your lines are not going too awful wonky. But having said that, I don't get overly involved in making sure that my lines are just super exact. This is going to look like a weaving. And you know, if you have a hand-woven towel that you kind of lay down someplace, it has some little moves and wiggles in it. And so it doesn't bother me if my pen kind of moves just a little bit. But I kind of try to keep it straight. But if it doesn't get exactly straight, then that's okay with me. This is a fun process, and you can use whatever colors you think work well together. If you have some focal images and you need a background, this is a great way to make a little background quickly using the colors that go with your focal point. Every once in a while people send me Happy Mail and they'll send me some cute little focal points, but I don't have any paper to go with it. And this way, now I do. Yay! There. Now I'm going to turn it and put my plaid part in to start. And I'll be right back in just a second when I get this layer done. There. And you can see it got a little wonky here, and that happens sometimes when you're running over the top of drywall tape. Let's just not worry about those things so much. I know people like to be exact and precise, but art is not always exact and precise. So, now this is the lighter color, the GT1, and all I'm going to do is to go through the white strips, but I'm not going to completely fill the white strip. It doesn't bother me if it doesn't fill up all the way, because it gives you a little bit of a woven, transparent, see-through kind of feel going on there, and the white kind of acts as a little bit of an accent then. And then we're going to go back and turn it one more time and add the red threads in. So let's do that now. And on the one that I showed you the example of, I just ran the red thread just right in the lighter color, and it kind of will move around a little bit with this fine point pen, and that's all right. Threads that are woven in a loose weave kind of move around just a little bit. My mother was a weaver. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. But she did all kinds of different weavings of things. And she did a lot of samples. So I've got several little small pieces of hers that she wove just as sample patterns so that she could study them. And so you can look at this as a sample pattern and see if you like it or not. Now, right here, my pen skipped over and I didn't fill, so I'm just going to go right back in there and fill a little bit more. And that's okay. I suppose if you wanted to get real technical about it, you could get a ruler and do exact work here, but I don't want to do that. So let me show you what this looks like now. And this one right here needs a little more red ink. There. And so now you can see what a nice plaid pattern that is. I do think I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit right up there of the lighter green. so that that finishes that edge out, because we are going to be using practically every bit of this little piece of paper here. There. Now, okay, so now on the inside, I want to put a little ink through the drywall tape that will just help to kind of build the whole card a little bit. You've seen me do this before, and it just adds a little bit of a hash pattern that we're going to stamp the sentiment on. And there we go. And so you can see what that one looks like. And then on the sentiment piece, I want to add a little bit of ink. And instead of going in the center, I'm going to go around the outside on this one, which is a divergence of what we just did. We went on the center on this one, see? And on this one, we're going to go around the outside. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my red pen, and I'm going to put some stitching around the outside of this tag. And there you go. Now, let's get started. The first thing I want to do is to cut this down to 5 inches and save that 1/2 inch strip, because I'll use that on the inside of this card. You've seen me do this before. I put a little strip on the inside, so that's where that one's going to go to. And then on this piece, I want to have a, remember now, these are 3.5, so I want to have a 3.25 inch strip, and I want 2 of them. And I want to keep control of which is the top. There we go. And then this piece I'm going to cut in half. It should be about 2 inches. So I'm going to cut it at 1 inch. And that will also go to make this card. Now let's see, what else do I need? I'll go back to this base here and we'll glue these panels on first. I hope y'all have had a good week this week. So I have some fun news for you. I got a notification from YouTube that the channel has had over 250,000 views. I'm sorry. That totally amazes me. I remember when I first started this little channel and I had 25 subscribers, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was just amazed at that. Well, when we finally got to 1,000 subscribers, I thought, well, that's probably the most I'm going to get. Well, now well, today I haven't checked it, and we may be just over 4,000 subscribers today. I'm not sure. But anyway, I want to say thank you all. I really appreciate it. And more than that, I appreciate your comments and the little friendships that we've developed through this little channel and the Facebook page. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. It means a great deal to me. Oh, I got it right. 50-50 chance. You need to make sure on this that your tops are the way they should be, and you don't flip one of them. I did that once before and I had to peel it off. So that's the voice of experience talking to you. Now, let's go ahead and stamp the images that we need. And I might as well go ahead and get this one done, because it goes on the inside flap, and I want to make sure it gets good and dry. Oh, I need my little stamp pad for these stamps. There. And so you can see what a nice little sentiment tag that makes, and it'll sit right in here on the inside, but I'm going to let it dry up good first. And I want to do this one as well and let it be drying while we do the tree. Now I can stop there, but here's the deal. I know that I have enough of this to do that card over there and do this little top strip. So I'm going to put my glue directly onto this piece, because that way I don't get glue on my little 1/2 inch strip. And I have as much of that left as I possibly can then. So I'm going to glue that on. And I'm going to trim it off on the back side. There we go. And see how nice that ends up being. And it'll go right here in the inside after we let it dry up a little bit. What I've discovered over the years is that for some reason red ink and I have to have a little quiet time between mixing of things. So I like to let it rest for just a little bit before we go any further than we already are. Okay, now this is the one that we're going to do for the top. And this is what it should look like when we're finished. So I'm going to start by doing my red sentiment, I think, and getting it out of the way. And I'm going to just put it right up there in the corner. I'll need the red again in just a minute for the little baubles on the tree, but I think we'll go ahead and build our tree first. And I'm going to use my pool party as the main part of the tree. Now, I've done this on the Misty, and I've done it by hand like this, and I think this time we'll just try it by hand and see, because not everyone has a Misty. And so I just want to put it down. I want to leave room at the top of my Christmas tree for my little silver star and kind of get it centered. And then I want to just rest for a minute and let my ink transfer off of that stamp onto the paper. Sometimes I think perhaps we pull our stamps a little too early and we don't give our stamps time to transfer the ink. Then the next layer I want to put on is my Tempting Turquoise, which you know is one of my favorite colors. And we're going to put that in the tree as well. Make sure I've got ink everywhere on that stamp. There we go. I may get my head in the way. If I did, I'm sorry. There we go. And now we're going to go back to the red and do our little Christmas balls. Where'd the red ink go? Do you lose things on your desk? I can be handling something and set it down, and 5 seconds later not be able to find it. It drives me nuts. I tell you, the thing that hides on me more than anything is my little jewel picker. I don't know why. It has a little mind of its own. There we go. And now I'm going to change over to my rich cocoa brown. Check my fingers here because red ink just loves me. And I'm going to do rich cocoa for the trunk. There we go. that just really finishes it out nicely, doesn't it? But then there's this nice little contoured stamp for either ground or snow. And I'm going to put it in Sahara Sand. But I want to get my scratch paper out because I want to make it second generation ink. And this has a little notch in it. And that little notch goes right up underneath the tree trunk. Right like that. There you go. I'm going to go back and do 2 more to kind of bring this little hill off the page a little bit. Remembering that I'm doing second generation ink on each one of them. Ask me why I said that. Well, there we go. And now it's off a nice little landscape mound there. And we're ready to put our card together. I can't wait for you to see it when it's done. This is a fun little card to make, y'all. And I really like this plaid. I was so tickled the other day when I decided to make plaid out of the drywall tape. I thought, oh my goodness. So, it was a winter day for me. Now, you could leave a border around this. You could have cut it a little bit smaller and left a border. But I kind of like the effect that it has by putting it all the way over to the edge. Cordelia's playing in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear her or not. But this is the second time I have made this video today, y'all. I'm just telling you. And the first time I made it, Cordelia was having an absolute rampage, and I had to go put her out of the room. And then when I downloaded my film, somehow or another, I deleted it. That drives me crazy. I changed over from Windows 10 to Windows 11 operating system. Well, goodness. There's differences in the photo section of them. And so that's where I made my major mistake today. But I don't mind because this gets me another couple of nice Christmas cards to send out this year. Alright, so there's the outside. And then we're just going to glue these in. And we're going to go on to card number 2 so you can see how to use up those scraps. Now, when you put this in, you want to get kind of an idea of how far you can go over this way with it. And then kind of center it as best you can. There's one. I'll rub it from the back a little bit. And then we're going to do our insert. And just center it up on this middle section here. And there we go. And then I want to go back and add just a few little clear gems that will simulate snowfall. These are Anita's gem wheels. And if I can find a link for them, I'll leave it for y'all. These are 2 millimeters. I've got 2 millimeters and 3 millimeters. And I reach for the 2 millimeters a lot of the time. I've also, in the studio this year, gotten some diamond dots in a variety of colors, way more than I needed. But, you know, they're kind of hard to turn down when you have a great big collection of color. And so I can use a lot of them on a card. And I missed one. Running my mouth. That's what I was doing, running my mouth. And so there we are. That card's finished and ready to roll on out of here. Okay, let's look at this one. Now, I have this little strip left to go on the inside, which is the full panel length. And I'm going to trim it down just by 1/4 of an inch. There we go. And then remember, I cut that final scrap in half. And the one thing that we want to check on here is to make sure that the tops run the way they should. You see, like that? You wouldn't want to put them on and have them on one side of the card this way and then the other side that way. So be sure and check your tops. And then I'm going to put these down with a 1/4 inch border on the outside edges. Just like you would a panel, but this is just a partial panel. And there we go. And check my edges again. There. Now this card's ready to finish, just like this one. And it'll be good to go. You know, the thought occurred to me that I didn't ever mount this one up on my red. So I've got this other card done in the meantime, and you'll see I made a little boo-boo right there. So I just put some extra heel face in there and tried to get my little diamonds in close. And I know it's a little boo-boo, but it's a handmade card, and it will probably go out to somebody in my family that won't care. But this one I forgot to put up on the red paper, so let's get that finished. And I like to put a little extra glue on this surface when I'm putting it up on this linen type paper, because the linen seems to be just a little bit smooth and slick. So I'm going to grab this with my tweezers and hold on to it, because I've already dropped this once today and had to get my little eraser out after the glue dried up to do some cleanup work, and it worked just fine. But it still is an annoyance, especially at the end of the day like this. So there, now that card's finished. And I'm sorry I forgot it the first time, but there it is. Makes a nice finished card, doesn't it? That little red backer on it. So here's all the cards. This one's blank inside still. This one's a happy birthday card. I don't know if I showed you the inside or not on that one. I think I did. And then these two other ones. So I hope y'all have a great week, and that you'll come back soon and visit with me again. Talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.